Hey everyone, this is Prince Watercrest, and welcome back to Let's Play The Lucky Dime Caper, starring Donald Duck for the Sega Master System. We're starting a castle, and for the first ring, just make your way to the right. The bones won't touch you. These forks will float up a little bit before they come at you, and once you know how they move, you'll know when they're going to go straight for you. As for the skeletons, when you pass by them, they throw a bone at you. Duck down, then make your way to the right and go up there. Now you got a bunch of ghosts that you'll have to avoid or jump on as you make your way up into the right. So I'm going to get rid of this ghost first, and then drop down and then make my way to the right here. Now here, jump over the spikes, jump up to hit the bone, and then you can either run under these portraits of Magica DeSpell on their way up, or you can leap on them when they're all the way down. You can actually bounce on them if you bounce on the top of them. From here, we take this platform up. And these segments are rather nasty. As a matter of fact, it can be really easy to screw up if you don't know what you're doing. Thankfully, this is the easiest of them all. And it will be as soon as I get rid of this ghost, if I can. But thankfully, I managed to make my way to that platform, duck down so that that moving spike doesn't hit you, and you can't go up from this middle platform. Instead, you have to go to this green platform on the left, let it travel to the hole, and then you can go up. Now, if you go left, you'll be going in circles, so go right instead. The ghosts here will dive down when you are close enough to them and they see you. When that happens, you better be ready to jump on their heads. Now it's time to drop down, and here's where it starts getting hard, and this is where I start losing lives. You will have to do some pretty interesting maneuvers just to get through this part. Now here, as soon as you're clear of the spikes, you should be able to jump to the right and hit that platform on the lower right with a short hop. But I messed that up a couple of times. The majority of this castle is pretty easy, but there are parts where it does trip even a good gamer up, and it basically makes the game look harder than it should be. Basically does make it harder than it should be for the intended audience for this game. Now you're supposed to make it to that platform I was standing on, and the only reason why I died there is because I accidentally hit the side of the spikes, and yeah. It is possible to hit the sides of spikes and die. So now we're going to have to do this all the way over again. And on this platform that I'm standing on, if you're on pretty much the right edge, you should have no problem getting in the next platform, which will drop down. Matter of fact, that one and this one, the one I just left off of, will fall down. That one will disappear, and then this one will go down. Now thankfully, I made it to that platform. For these platforms, you want to jump to the left, and for this last one, you just want to make your way to the right and drop down, making sure not to touch the spikes. You're not going to deal with mirrors that carry what look like one of the two lonesome ghosts for enemies. You can actually farm weapons and other power-ups if you need to from them. And now we got another vertical section that we need to deal with. Thankfully, this is not as hard as the spike-laden parts that we just had to deal with. You'll be avoiding these moving spike balls, and you'll be fighting off these ghosts. Not very hard. It does get a little interesting at the bottom, though. You want to follow this one that moves horizontally to the left, and as soon as it moves towards you, you want to duck down. You'll be able to get through it then. And now you got these statues. Always drop them left, right, and then both when it comes to the spears. You definitely want to make your move as quick as you can as soon as these things drop down or come up, depending on the situation at hand. And you can't jump that gap. You have to go down, because you have to go left here anyway. And I didn't have problems with this part in the practice run, but for some reason I did here. You basically want to avoid these blue balls that make these little clanging noise. Even though it seems like they're actually passing through each other, I guess it just makes that noise to just give the illusion that they're bouncing off of each other, when it doesn't really look like they are. And you know to take short hops as you follow the path. Just take this platform down, get on this platform and duck if you need to. From here you want to drop down all the way to the left, and then make some short hops down to the lower right again. Be careful here. Be careful not to touch the spike ball. And be careful not to touch the balls here. Do not drop down once you're at that last part, because more than likely you will touch spikes. And for some reason, I lost more lives here in this section than I did in the ones that were full of spikes. But I had more problems with the parts full of spikes in the practice run than I did in the final run. Primarily because you don't have a lot of space between the spikes, or the spears rather, that these statues carry, and the edges of the platforms themselves. You're also going to be dealing with flames that drop down from candles. They never disappear, you can't touch them, they will hurt you, and you have to jump over them. And sometimes it's a little harder than it should be, because of some of the low overheads with some of the platforms, especially if you're taking the lower paths at times. Now thankfully, I triggered the flame here to get it to, you know, drop down before I go down there, but apparently going down there wasn't the best idea, because I died horrifically. I did not have as much invincibility time as I thought I did. So now we're going to have to try this another time after some really bad hit taking a lot of hits I should not have been taking. We're gonna get through this, don't worry. But yeah, I had more problem with this part than I did the spike chambers. And I learned my lesson this time and stick to the upper path when I reach this part. And you want to stay high here too, because you may mess up those jumps if you stay low. And I almost messed that up too. And I thought I was going to be able to jump over the flame there, but unfortunately I had too much of Donald Duck underneath the platform, and I ended up dying as a result. And how I didn't take a hit there, I will never know. But nevertheless, we get back up here and take on these spear traps like normal. And if you get too close to the right edge on those platforms, you can always back up a little bit and then make a running jump from there. Now the question is, can we actually make it this time? Well, I thought I was going to be able to. And I take not the right path, but the lower path. There are two right paths there. And guess what happens if you take the lower path at the end? You have to do this entire section over. Learn that the hard way. I did not take it during my practice run. I thought it would lead to an alternate path at best. It did not. There are a few instances in the castle where you will go into a loop if you're not careful, if you don't go in the right direction. That part on the rooftop where I told you to go right instead of left was one of them. We just saw the second. Thankfully, those are the only two that I know of. And we finally make it to the end, and this time I remember to take the upper path. And we're getting pretty close to the end now. You definitely want to have a weapon at this point, because I believe this is the final area of the game before you face the boss. If you don't have a weapon, go ahead and fight these ghosts, make them respawn if you need to, and just fight them off until you do get a weapon. And you have to take the high path here because that column is a wall. Now, I know how to beat Magic of DeSpell, but I'm going to wait until I do this segment again, because the way I do it, you need a weapon. You will have to sacrifice to hit. So let's try this again, and hopefully try not to lose a weapon. If you need to, bounce off the top of these Magic of DeSpell portraits, and you should be able to make it out of here okay. Also, those ghosts don't move towards you until you're a good distance away. So if they pop up in front of you, right where you are, just move a little bit away, either left or right, and they'll come after you then. As for Magic of DeSpell, she has the ability to shoot at you thunder and lightning as well as bombs. But if you leap on the magic crystal ball there when it's blue and leap on it 8 times, which is really easy to do when you have a weapon, you'll be able to beat Magic of DeSpell. The reason I tell you to bring a weapon is that you may get hit at random by one of the projectiles, but as long as you stay above the crystal ball, you'll be able to get this ending, where Donald Duck gets his reward for saving the boys and saving the lucky dimes. A lucky dime of his own. Don't know what Donald was expecting. And that is it for the Lucky Dime Caper starring Donald Duck for the Sega Master System. There is a Game Boy, not a Game Boy, but a Game Gear version that is a little different. Level designs are a little different. You can find power-ups in the wild as opposed to fighting enemies for them. You still have 2 hits, but in case you get hit once, you still get to keep your weapon. And that's about it, as far as I know, between the differences between the Master System and Game Gear versions. So how does this game stack up? Well, if you played Castle of Illusion starring Mickey Mouse from a Master System, you kind of know what to expect. Your usual platforming. Just like the aforementioned game, this one can definitely be hard in some spots, especially with the castle. I lost many more lives than I planned to. Graphics look pretty good. You can tell what stuff is, which for a Master System game from the 90s, you should be able to. Sound is alright. It's okay. It's not terribly annoying. Play control is pretty good. Just be prepared to deal with some strange level designs, I guess, and some really cheap enemies at times, especially cheap bosses like that snowman or even Magic of DeSpell if you don't know what you're doing. And when I play this again, probably I'd probably play it again just to see how much better I would get at the final level. And would I recommend this game? Absolutely. So the Disney Sega games from the late 80s and early 90s, they were alright. Capcom still made some good titles, but Sega owners still had a few games to be proud of, especially Castle of Illusion for the Master System and the Sega Genesis, and even the Lucky Dime Caper for the Master System for those in Europe, and for the Game Gear for those in America. Definitely a game worth having in your Master System library. Even though the Master System version only came out in Europe, if you do have a United States Master System, you can still play UK games on it. This is one of the games you can obviously play on a US Master System, now that I mentioned that, without the need of an adapter. So US and UK, definitely backwards compatible. You would need an adapter to do the Japanese games, obviously, for anything, any game Mark III. But I'm kind of going on a tangent here. This was Let's Play The Lucky Dime Caper, starring Donald Duck for the Master System. Hopefully I will be back with another game. Don't know what, but I'm pretty sure I'll come up with something soon enough. Until then, this is Prince Watercress. Take care, stay safe, thanks for watching, and see you guys later!